Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's Just Price here. So with all these great games coming out nowadays like Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, and even the new Oblivion Remastered, I just sort of had to ask myself, can I still enjoy vanilla Skyrim in 2025? And so I started a new playthrough to answer that question. Playing through Oblivion Remastered most recently really got me thinking about how much I used to love BGS games. Starfield didn't have that sense of exploration that I loved, and that's what inspired me to come up with some new guidelines for this playthrough. I'm going to call them guidelines instead of rules, so that way if I decide to break them, it's not going to feel like I'm cheating. The most important one is that I'm going to try not to use exploits, as I feel like that's going to take me away from what I'm trying to do. And the next most important one is I'm going to reduce fast traveling. I'm only going to use it going back to major cities after I've completed quest objectives outside of the cities. I want all traveling otherwise to either go by road or, just free form. That is the thing that really hooked me on Oblivion Remastered. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to achievement hunt the game for the first time. I always wanted to achievement hunt it, but I never did. On Xbox 360, I had the base game but none of the DLCs, and even though I played a lot of it, those achievements were completely out of the picture. On Xbox One, I beat the game, but I never beat the DLCs without mods attached, so those achievements I also never got. This is an awesome opportunity because it's the first time I've really played it on PC, and I'm sure that afterwards it might inspire me to go back through and play with mods entirely differently. So to get started on my adventure, I went ahead and did the introduction, which is fantastic. It's one that's iconic for video games and open world games at that. I went ahead and made my character. I decided to go with a regular Nord McGee just because, it's Skyrim, might as well be a Nord. Skyrim's for the Nords after all. While I was running from the dragon, this guy hilariously took out my legs, and something I had never seen happen before in this game. You can go through and clear the dungeon with either Hadvar or the Stormcloaks, but screw the Stormcloaks, they suck.
Huh?
I never side with them. The Empire might end up being cucks to the Thalmor and Aldemiri Dominion, but that's better than being an asshole like Ulfric and his right-hand man back in Windhelm. Anyway, I gathered up all the weapons I could so that I can find and sell them and make a little bit of gold, and headed down to the Guardian Stones and chose the Warrior Stone to level up those skills faster. I decided pretty early on that I was going to be a bit of a spell sword, but obviously stealth archers are pretty OP inside of Skyrim. That's not the build I'm going to stick with or anything, but I'm okay with using it here and there. Stealth is really fun anyway once you level up illusion and alteration and you can get to the point you can do that 15 time damage with daggers. I settled with the idea that I'm going to be the jack of all trades. Of course, Skyrim doesn't make you a master of none or anything like other games do. You can actually become a master of all, it just takes a long ass time. But my theory was that I could go around, use all of my skills except for heavy armor since I'm going to be using light armor, and that's going to help me level up faster if I level up everything. After reading this book on fishing, I decided to try it out for a minute, and I have to say this is the most overhyped feature that got added with Creation Club. I know people loved it or whatever, and I know that Todd really tried to sell everyone on it, but this is not fun. After I got to Riverwood, that's where I really tried to play things differently from how I've tried to play it in more recent playthroughs. I typically have just sort of rushed straight over to Whiterun to help the Jarl and get my first shout, but instead I stopped and really talked to everybody inside of Riverwood. I wanted to make sure that I was exploring everything adequately, and I accepted all the quests they offered. I got my first follower to come along with me. Hey Faendal! One of the quests leads you right on over to Bleak Barrow to get the Golden Claw, which of course is where you'll be heading to grab the Dragonstone tablet anyway when you go to see the Jarl, so I grabbed that and I went back to the tavern and picked up all of their bounties. I of course also made sure that I took everything that I could from Hadvar's uncle's place. Gotta make sure that you can, get some gold by selling it all back to him. When I stepped out of the city, I ran into this Khajiit who was trying to sell me some skooma. I didn't buy it because that is illegal. I'm not doing illegal stuff, not until I join the Thieves Guild. I'm going to be on the straight and narrow for a little bit. I told him no and then just sort of took in the view here for a moment and walked on down this way. And just like that, it was time to go around and see just how beautiful this world was. I set out with Faendal here, who was wearing some hilarious armor. This is not his typical get-up, and we decided to go around and hunt some deer while I explored. I will say that early on, hunting is not so cash money in this game. Everything takes way too many shots. I was pretty lucky that this one just decided to not run away.
Hey, Fiend Dog, you gotta get over here, real quick.
I operated as a sneak archer for a little bit and took out some guys inside of this mine. I wanted to make sure that I could get plenty of ore, and you know, earlier I was hunting so I could get all those skins. That's so that way I could really work on my crafting skill. As I was going through here though, I was just having so much fun just going through and trying to find everything I could inside this mine. Earlier I decided that I would even read a bunch of books, any of them that I found, and I would collect them so that way I could put them all inside of my house when I inevitably got one. I figure I'll end up building one of those houses from the DLC later, but that'll be much further down the line when I actually have some money. It was really nice while I was in there though, because I started to see all of my skills go up. Well, specifically archery and sneak, but still, that's pretty good, pretty good. Pretty soon I started working on leveling up my destruction as well, and I am not going to pretend that this did not take me multiple attempts. I forgot how overpowered Spriggans are at the beginning of this game, and the first time I tried to use that scroll, I failed. I did not hold it for nearly long enough, and then when I tried to use it again, I just got smacked down and insta-killed. Then I died a second time, and then this is attempt number 3, and finally, this guy dies. One of the things I love so much about Elder Scrolls games is just how much of a badass it feels like you are when you kill something tough like that. Plenty of things are pretty challenging, and it just is so rewarding at the end. Sticking to the roads helps you see more random encounters, which is very nice because it just makes the world feel more lived in. There's not a lot of interaction usually because there are people going about their regular day, but that's perfectly fine with me. My exploring eventually led me to Falkreath, where I helped out some of the locals doing a variety of quests. They're just a bunch of small things, but some of these I hadn't even ever done before just because they're miscellaneous, and I just walked right past it. I even went over and talked to the Jarl, and he told me that he didn't know who I was yet. Typically you get a letter from the Jarl of Falkreath, and he tells you that he's heard of your deeds and you can go and become his Thane, although I've never really cared to do that before. This time though, because I was such a low level, he told me that I needed to prove myself by getting him some ale. That sounded incredibly boring, so I did not do that, and eventually the quest failed on its own. So I ended up coming back and becoming his Thane about, 4 hours of gameplay later. It was about this time, after a good bit of exploration, that I decided it was time for me to return on over to Riverwood and head on to Bleak Barrow. Before I did that, I went ahead and sold some goods at the Riverwood Trader, went ahead and made some items, then I took off and headed to go grab that golden claw. I couldn't help but to just stop on the bridge for a second and admire how beautiful it is. You can really tell just how much effort Bethesda put into handcrafting this area. I have to say that in this small section of playing this game, I was already getting so hooked. It was just as good as I'd always remembered. Now before you guys start giving me crap for this, look, I know that I have way too many quests turned on at this point. I was just trying to look on my map and see which one was closer, and then I saw that none of them were close at all. And that's one of the reasons that I was like, yeah, I'm not going to explore like the whole flipping map before I go to Bleak Barrow. So I went ahead and started heading that way, and I just had not turned them off yet. But anyway, to get in there, I went ahead and did some sneak shots, took on these guys, and started heading my way into Bleak Falls. Before I knew it, it was time to take on this massive spider and then try to get Swifty McGee down, but I knew that he was, going to run away, as he tends to do, and that's frustrating, so I'd already made the plan to go ahead and just kill him as soon as I could. But I took on this spider, and that was pretty fun. I will say that when he poisoned me, I was like, oh god! I honestly felt like I rolled a nat 20 right there. Faendal came in so clutch. Why is it though that poison always does so much damage to your health in Elder Scrolls, but I guess Oblivion's different, but in Skyrim, poison does not do damage. Maybe if you max out alchemy. I've never maxed out alchemy and made my own poisons, but historically when I've played this game, that has been pretty trash. Finally, the time was upon me to kill this thieving bastard and grab that golden claw, so that way I can make my way onto the Dragonstone. And just like that, we can call this man a marshmallow because he is roasted. And from here, I'm just going to let the video play for a minute while I get my first word of power and grab that Dragonstone. And just like that, I had the Dragonstone in my possession. When I made it all the way to the Jarl, I'd be able to basically skip this quest, and that made me pretty happy, can't lie. It was already crazy because I was so far in the game, it felt like, and I'd never been this high level when I came into Bleak Falls Barrow before. So when I left Bleak Falls Barrow, I went ahead and returned the Golden Claw and continued on my way. Tried to shoot this deer, and that did not go so well. And then I just continued on my way to Whiterun. I passed some of these Imperial guards and just kept on going, and I have to say that this game is so beautiful. I was just a few hours in, it felt like, but I was already loving this game. I know I already said that earlier, but it just immediately recaptured me, and this is exactly what I wanted from this experience. When I finally got to Whiterun, I walked so slowly, just trying to absorb in everything, enjoy the beautiful view, and I made it to the gates and immediately recognized a problem. I know that that gate is locked and that you have to have a guard open it for you. And there's no guard there. And I was like, surely he's gonna show up, right? So I looked around and eventually I waited, and I waited a good bit. And no guard ever came. So my first game-breaking, I would say, glitch happened. By game-breaking, I mean I just had to load back the save and then walk back up here again. But it was pretty funny to not be able to get into the city. That would completely stop a major story bit of this game. So after a reload, I was able to finally come up to the gate and the guards were there, so they let me in. I was pretty relieved that it ended up being that simple. Sometimes you have to load back much farther than I really wanted to. I did the same thing inside of Whiterun that I did over at Riverwood. I walked around and I talked to everybody, made sure to accept all the quests, and then I eventually made my way on up to Dragon's Reach. I went ahead and completed the first quest, which you just do by talking to the Jarl, and then I ended up moving over to help Farengar, but of course already having that Dragonstone, it was easy to just hand it to him, and then I was sent down to kill my first dragon. I'm gonna just let that play straight through for you guys so you can see what that looked like.
I know it looks bad. We've got to figure out what happened. And if that dragon is still skulking around somewhere. Spread out and look for survivors. We need to know what to deal with.
No, get back. It's still. Let's save us. Here he comes again. The dragon! The dragon! You're outmatched.
And just like that, I became the Dragonborn of legend. These big moments in the game left captured, such as getting my first word of power and then beating this first dragon, are moments that absolutely capture you in the game. That's why I left them uninterrupted for you guys to get to see for yourselves. It's those moments that captured me so hard the first time and that inspired me to want to even try to do this playthrough and make this video. So after having left that area, you can see that I went on a variety of different missions and ended up all over the place. I kept exploring, harvesting, and just finding and selling everything that I could, and just really tried to keep on taking in the world. But I didn't do any more of the main story. At least, not yet. My initial plan for this video was to go through the entire main story first and talk about how it made me feel after having finished it. Then I plan to release follow-up videos for the companions, for the College of Winterhold, Thieves Guild, and for the Dark Brotherhood, and then possibly for the DLCs if you guys were interested. But after having been lost in the game and capturing all this footage, I realized that I didn't need to wait to put it out until then, because I have an answer to the question. Yes, I can enjoy playing vanilla Skyrim in 2025. Thank you guys so much for sticking through until the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please make sure that you hit the like, you leave a comment, and that you subscribe so that way you can stay tuned for future videos. This is the style of video I'm more interested in making in the future, so if you do like what you see, it's what you will continue to see. I'm making follow-up videos on all of the factions like I mentioned. I'm just going to do it at a later time. I thought that there was enough here to go ahead and make a high-quality video for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and sticking through to the end. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.